Good morning. Bonjour, Ani. My name is Matthew Sukram. I am the communications coordinator for MP Anthony Rhoda and your MC for this morning's event. Thank you so much for being here today. Merci beaucoup d'être ici aujourd'hui. We will have two speakers today to talk about this announcement, and at the end, we will have time for speeches for any media to ask questions. À la fin de décours, les médias auront le temps de poser des questions. To reveal some of the details about the project we are discussing today, I will hand things over to Member of Parliament for Nipissing-Temiskaming and Speaker of the House of Commons, Anthony Rhoda. Anthony?
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you to all of you for being here this morning. It's a pleasure to be here, even if it's virtually today, and it's wonderful to see my good friend Mayor Carmen Kidd and Chris Oslin, the City Manager of Temiskaming Shores, here with us today. Both of them have been working very hard on a number of projects, and this is one of the things that comes up that we see really hard city managers and really hardworking mayors coming together to make things happen. C'est un plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui avec vous. Et même si c'est seulement virtuel, on a pris la chance ou pris l'opportunité pour se rencontrer et faire une annonce qui est de bénéfice à tout le monde. I would also like to thank the media for coming out to today's event, as this is an opportunity to recognize the strength and the resourcefulness of our communities, especially since the pandemic began. Now, COVID-19 has reached or reshaped so many aspects of our lives, including how we move around our communities, how we gather, how we engage in leisure activities, and how we access services. Now, the Government of Canada is consistently focused on the health and safety of Canadians as we work to recover from the pandemic, and I'm proud of the many constituents in Nipissing-Temiskaming who were vaccinated and abided by public health protocols. It's thanks to them that we are going to be able to enjoy this project as a community later on this year. Now, the project is taking place at the Haileybury Heritage Museum, where they plan to commemorate the Centennial Anniversary of the Great Fire of 1922. I'll let Chris explain a little bit more about the project in just a minute, but I want to let you know that this project is being supported with $49,100 invested by the Ministry of Canadian Heritage through the Building Communities Through Arts and Heritage program. This program was created to help our communities, both in its past, its present, and it allows local groups to commemorate their local history and heritage. L'histoire du Canada est une collection d'événements qui ont formé ce que nous sommes. Et nous célébrons notre histoire ensemble. Et en célébrant ensemble, nous devenons plus forts et plus fiers de qui nous sommes. Public spaces and community-led initiatives enable a feeling of belonging and of social cohesion. They are a big part of what makes communities safe, vibrant, and connected. As we start to see restrictions loosen around COVID-19 protocols, it's these types of projects that will help our community connect safely, and it will allow us to benefit from it both mentally and physically, and make sure that our well-being of all our residents improves. Now, the fire of 1922 is part of our history. Much like COVID-19 will one day be looked back upon as a difficult time that made us stronger as a community, as a province, and as a country. So today, what I'll do is I'll leave it to Chris to explain a little bit more about the project. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished project and getting a chance to experience the project in person. So thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And I will now invite the City Manager of Temiskaming Shores, Christopher Oslin, to speak a little bit more about the project. Chris?
Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Anthony, and certainly, first and foremost, we want to thank the Government of Canada and the Department of Canadian Heritage for this funding. It truly will help us make sure that we have a memorable event. And I thought I'd give just a little background of the Great Fire of 1922. It's one of the 10 worst natural disasters in Canadian history, actually, and it It affected 18 townships within the southern area of the district of Temiskaming, covering about 650 square miles. I know in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of tragedies with fires across the country. And so there are many Canadians, I'm sure, that can relate to what our residents went through back in 1922. And really, we were frontier communities at the time. And there were many: Haileybury, Charlton, North Cobalt, Notre Dame du Nord, a small village called Hayslip. A lot of these communities were devastated because of the 1922 fire. But we also talked today about resiliency and how through COVID, how our communities and our country has developed resiliency. And that really is a theme that we want to promote as well through our celebrations and commemorations this year, because those residents, those pioneers of our communities in Temiskaming, they were resilient. They rebuilt our communities. And so although that fire on October 4th, 1922 was very devastating, there were over 6,000 people left homeless, and it snowed the next day. So there were lots of complications for a lot of those people at the time, but they were resilient and they rebuilt the communities that we have today. And so that in of itself is worth celebrating. And so we're very thankful for the funding that we've received. Just a couple of the events so people know what's happening this year. And we're looking at a lot of different partnerships. So one of the partnerships we're looking at is with the Centre Culturel d'Artem, and that's a recreation of it's called the Great Fire Dip, where we will have people actually dressed in period costume and go into the lake in early October to experience what it would have been like for those seeking refuge from the fire going down into Lake Temiskaming. We're also partnering with TAG, Temiskaming Art Gallery, on a number of initiatives, including the Haileybury Block Party. We'll be partnering with North on Tap. We're looking at partnerships, which is a craft beer festival here in Haileybury. We're looking at some historical tours, including bus tours and historical walking tours. And then those will happen throughout the summer. And everything culminates in sort of a gala event that we'll be looking at the weekend of October 1st, 2nd, which is the closest weekend to the anniversary, the Centennial, which was October 4th, 1922 is when the fire occurred. So those are some of the events that will be happening, as well as we're in the process of 25 years ago, we interviewed survivors of the fire and published a book called The Great Fire of 1922. We're looking at updating that book, gathering additional stories, and that book is in the process of being reprinted with the assistance of White Mountain Publication as well. So lots of exciting things happening for our Centennial, and it's through funding programs like the Building Communities Through Arts and Heritage that we're going to be able to make sure this is a memorable event for all those attending.
Thank you so much, Chris. And that will conclude the formal speaking portion of today's event. So if there are any questions from media, you can start those now. Just turn on your microphone and just say who you are and where you're reporting from, and who you're directing your question at. We'll give a minute here to the media to gather in all that information, and there will be a media release, and this recording, or a link to this recording, will go out as well following this event. Media release in both French and English will go out.
My mic on?
Yeah, you're on, Blake.
Oh, it's Blake from CJTT. So how is it important for the federal government to be involved in something like this, sort of celebrating the culture of Northern Ontario and sort of trying to bring more attention to these communities?
Is that one for me or
anybody? I get.
Sure. No, I actually no. It's. I'll go ahead and then Chris can can join in after, if that's okay. No, it's very important for the federal government to promote our histories, because I mean, when you look at Canada, it's a very big country, and it's made up of a lot of different communities, different areas, different regions, and we have to remember our history. As Chris mentioned, this is one of the top 10 disasters as far as fires go for the country of Canada. And if we just let it slip away and we forget about it, we forget our history. We forget what makes us who we are. I mean, as Canadians, Chris mentioned it many times, resilient is a word that comes back, because I mean, when we look at our climate, we look at our conditions, we've come through a lot, we've come a long way, and Canada is a very respected country. Why? Because we have a strong history. And as long as we can remember how we got here, I think it'll make us so much stronger getting us forward. And coming out of COVID, when we see us coming out of COVID, I think this is a project that reminds us, look, we've had rough times in the past, and we're going out into the future, and we're going to have one heck of a future, because we can survive this, and we can survive anything, whether it's a fire of 1922 or COVID of 2019.
Great. And Chris, did you want to add on to
I
on
think
the support?
Anthony
Okay.
covered that very well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any follow-up, Blake, or to any of our other media members?
That's it. That's all I had.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Blake.
We did a really good job, Chris. No questions. We just covered everything.
Excellent.
Okay, great. So not seeing any further questions, so I will conclude today's event. Thank you so much to our dignitaries for being here today, and thank you to the media for giving us coverage of this event. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merci.
Thank you.
Thanks.